Welcome to this edition of Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle. You might have seen on the internet there's been a big report from American College of Sports Medicine where they did a meta-analysis of thousands of studies on the most important aspects of an exercise regimen associated with health, longevity, etc. And their conclusions were primarily that consistency is more important than any specific regular exercise regimen, meaning picking an activity that improves your strength, your endurance, cardiovascular endurance, and helps with body weight control is more important than any particular exercise regimen. The problem I see with meta-analysis and studies in general is they're trying to generalize across many different people, coming up with a recommendation that they think will fit all comers. In my almost 4 decades of a medical career, I was much more interested in the outliers rather than the general. So those individuals who demonstrated unique characteristics that fell outside the studies or regular recommendations, trying to understand how they are different, what makes them different, and trying to look at each person, individual patient, as an individual, and trying to maximize what fits them best. So I'd recommend, if you're doing an exercise program, is that you look at yourself, try and figure out how much exercise do you need, how much recovery do you need, how's your sleep, how's your nutrition, all these recommendations. You might find that you do very well on one particular diet, let's say keto. Some people, like me, if I do a keto diet, I feel terrible. It just doesn't fit with my genetics, my epigenetics, and just me as an individual. So if you've been following me, you know I'm working on powerlifting as an activity for a senior, and I'm going to continue with that. But I also have severe problems with my shoulders, which limits some of my strength. Specifically, both shoulders have failed rotator cuff surgery, that I've lost tendons which attach at least 2 of the muscles, generally the teres minor and the infraspinatus, which makes me very weak on external rotation, but I also find I'm very weak on lifting overhead and other issues like that. So the therapist gave me some exercises to start with. They told me to do them every day, so I'm going to go through my exercises as a warm-up. So for the exercises, they had me doing 3 sets of 10 repetitions, starting with a band row. I'm just going to demonstrate 1 set. So my palms are up, pulling the band, and fully contracted. I think about what my shoulder blades are doing, make sure they're contracted and together and down. I'll go a few more. I'm going to elevate the anchor point for the band and do a face pull with my palms down. Paying attention to my posture, make sure my core is engaged in my breathing. And pull back where my hands are close to shoulders. Moving on, I'm going to a inclined push-up position, but instead of bending my elbows, I'm just rounding my shoulders forward, the shoulder blades, and then retracting them and holding them together, keeping my spine neutral and my head slightly tucked. I'm going to grab one of these soft, small balls. So I got this, push it against the wall. There we go. My feet are offset, standing tall, arms straight, and just rotating. About 10 rotations, other direction. Switch feet, and other arm. Finally, for the last set in this physical therapy regimen, I'd grab a light dumbbell, lean forward or rest on the platform, and with my arms straight up to the side and thumbs up, lift towards the ceiling. So grabbing a pair of light dumbbells, leaning over the platform, take them down to the side, and as the thumbs up, bring them up as high as I can. Of all those exercises, that one is truly demonstrating to me where my deficiency is in my shoulders. Is even just a very light 2-pound dumbbell. It's quite a struggle to get it up. I hope with this program I can make that stronger, and otherwise learn to adapt to activities that might require a move similar to that. I do find there are things that also feel quite weak. Taking something light, and like say trying to put it up on a shelf, out to the side. A lot of times I'm surprised at some of these moves how lack of strength really is an impairment, and sometimes have to change my position, use 2 hands, change the amount of weight I'm trying to lift in that position. Before getting into my primary lifts for this workout, I like to do some warm-up exercises, starting off with some Romanian deadlifts, which are abbreviated RDLs. So I have a bar loaded up, and it's elevated, so you start in an upright position, hinge back, lower the weight to somewhere below the knees. Doesn't have to go all the way to the floor. You want to make sure your back stays neutral, your core is engaged, and it's important to think about contracting every muscle in your body, from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. With any significant weightlifting, any amount of muscle relaxation during the lift is going to cause a decrease of strength and potential for injury. So just let the weight drop. Power up. Another component that came out of that American College of Sports Medicine study was what's the ideal amount of rest between muscle exercises, resistance training. They found for cardiovascular benefit, a short rest interval, like 30 seconds, was sufficient, though not long enough to actually increase strength. Their conclusion was to increase strength between heavy exercises to rest 3 to 5 minutes, which seemed like a lot of time. I like to sort of walk around, get a drink of water, listen to a song or whatever. Most songs on my feed are somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes, so when the song ends, then it's time to get back to work. It turns out if you're doing a significant program, that amount of rest can extend the duration of your program quite a bit. I'll find that I'm at the gym sometimes for 2.5 hours trying to complete my exercises. So that makes a significant difference in how you approach this. One adaptation is to increase the intensity of each set, meaning doing a few more repetitions instead of 3 to 5, maybe doing 5 to 7 or so. You don't want to be able to lift a weight long enough to, it's many repetitions to get to like 10 is really not exercising your strength increasing muscles. Those are more in your muscle endurance range or hypertrophy. I don't really want to hypertrophy my muscles, which just adds weight to my already large body. Rather want to increase strength without necessarily adding much weight. So that's why I'm working on these lower range repetitions. So 3 to 5 minutes rest between each. Plan for a significant amount of time at your facility. I think it's probably just as beneficial maybe to split it into 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. I think you're going to get the same benefit from that. So moving on, another warm-up before doing heavy deadlifts. I like to do what they call a split squat. So I've got a platform here for balance. Put my feet significantly far apart so that when I bend down, my front shin stays vertical. If you feel your backside, this is working a lot of those gluteal muscles on both sides and warming up for a good range of motion. You can always progress by adding a weight in your hand. I'm going to switch legs. Again, it's a wide stance. You can alter this exercise by bringing your feet closer together. If you allow your knee to come farther forward, it becomes more of a quad exercise. You can put your hand on those muscles and feel them working. And switch sides. Further variation is to elevate the posterior leg, and we call this a Bulgarian split squat. It's going to be quite challenging for your balance, so have some sort of support close by. You can repeat that on the other side. I have to move everything over to a pole so I have something to hold on to and so I don't topple over. So we got a nice pole here, leg in front, foot elevated. It's important to do some exercises for just one side of the body at a time to address imbalances, specific muscle weaknesses, and there's the neuromuscular connections. Okay, whew. Enough of that. Now that I'm sufficiently warmed up, moving on to my working sets for my 3 major lifts. Starting off with bench press, no, deadlift. For these lifts, even at a moderately light weight for what you can handle, you want to focus, put all your intention into the lift, because there's potential to have injury if you have any sloppiness or poor form. So I want to focus, brace, meaning I inhale a nice breath, contract all of my core muscles, grab the bar, contract all my muscles in my body. I have to think specifically about bringing my shoulder blades down, my shoulders behind the bar, tighten my glutes, press my feet into the floor, and lift the weight up. I find when I'm doing multiple repetitions on a deadlift, I have to remind myself at the bottom when the weight's on the ground, brace, focus, power up. Might take a couple seconds to do that. So you want to think it's better to do a perfect lift rather than completing them at any particular speed of repetition. Don't go any beyond 5 repetitions. Today I'm planning on doing increase progression, increase the weight over the course of 7, getting up to about 80-90% of my maximal for 2 to 3 lifts. As I mentioned earlier, a full powerlifting workout, even isolated to a single lift like a deadlift, can take a couple hours. So after you've done, depending on how you're feeling, you might want to call it a day. Again, a deadlift is a full body exercise. The only thing I think it lacks is really upper body pushing, but that comes in on our bench press day. Or if you've moved to it quickly, still have some energy, there are some accessory exercises to work on that can improve particular parts of the activity, or stabilizing muscles, or general conditioning. Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle, we like to add some action intervals for some cardiovascular work. I usually try and incorporate that with things like kettlebell swings, farmer's carries, short interval sprints, and so at this point I'm going to move on to some of these accessory exercises, starting off with using a stability ball or Swiss ball to work on balance, core stabilization, and some of the isolation muscle type activity. I'll start with the stability ball pushed against the wall and with your back against it, and feet about shoulder width apart at where your shins are basically vertical, and just do some squat maneuvers. Progression is to put one leg more towards the middle and try and unweight the other leg. Do at least a partial squat. Switch sides. You can find this quite challenging. You might find one side is more capable than the other, and that is helping you identify a weakness in that particular leg, which you can work on over a period of time. Laying down on the mat on my back with my stability ball, I have a couple of activities to strengthen my posterior chains. First will be a glute bridge with the ball. Put my heels up on the ball, lay down flat, and lift my core up and hold it for a period of time. You can do repetitive up and down or just a plank basically to start strengthening those muscles, and then follow that with a hamstring curl where with my heels on the ball I roll the ball towards me and then back out. So again, demonstrate both. Engage your core and lift. And then hamstring curl. This is quite an effective exercise for the hamstrings. Even though you're not moving as much weight as you might on a hamstring curl machine, the instability of the ball and your body being lifted up is quite beneficial. My last exercise for this session is taking a smaller stability ball. You can use a medicine ball, anything. It doesn't have to be particularly heavy, so this is a Atlas lunge or squat. The idea is that you put the ball up on your shoulder, and we'll start off with just a squat. Because of the position of the ball, you're forced to keep your upper body quite vertical. You can switch sides if you want. And let's do a lunge. And switch feet and sides. So I'm going to finish up this workout with some foam rolling, a little bit of stretching, recovery, and plan on doing another heavy lift day, bench press or squats, whichever's on my schedule, in about 48 hours to allow for muscle recovery. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.